Welcome everybody. This training will be on how we will be going on about using the Miro for the structuring of our work. Basically, when you open up your Miro, here is the dashboard, which I'm not entirely sure if you have access to. I think you only have access to the boards itself. Basically, we'll be making several boards so we can structure our entire work flow basically online, as we have a big focus on sustainability and we want to kind of make sure that we use as little post-its, flip charts, and everything possible so that we can live our life as sustainable as possible. You should have all gotten an invitation to join this specific board through Slack. It should be in like a private message by me, so you can access this board itself. What's very important is that I would highly advise everybody to download the app. It's simply called, if you go to Miro.com, I believe, you'll be able to download the app. It's both for Apple and for Windows, and it has a better functionality than if using it through like a browser. So it's definitely much better, and I would highly recommend downloading the app. Why we chose to use Miro for all of our structure is that it's a very easy way in which we can integrate all of the different platforms you might yourself use for working. Say you want to use a Google Docs document for writing your script for your video or doing it on Dropbox. You can integrate all of those files into the Miro board so that we can still have an overview on what you're working on and how your files are going, but we don't have to force you to either work on a specific Dropbox drive, something like that. So you can have that option open up for yourself. And also this will give us much more of a opportunity to work very creatively with visually structuring our work. Basically, when you open up the program, you will open up and see this frame over here. But before I get into everything that's on the board right now, I will give you a short introduction of how the program itself works. So right over here, you have your main toolbox do within the program itself. The first one is very easy. It's simply your select tool. So it's your cursor, how you use it, whatever. So it's also still a shortcut. Like in most projects, when you select V on your keyboard, you'll go to your select button. Within the desktop app, you can also scroll like you would scroll on normally on like programs such as Photoshop by just simply using 2 fingers on your touchpad. And you don't have to go into like a different setting for that. That's a nice feature of this. The second thing in your toolbox is your templates. When you open this up, you can see that there are a lot of different templates that you can simply click and either show or add immediately to your board, which you can then use to structure your work. There's a lot of different fun things that you can use, and there's also a lot of different ones which you can simply find within the different tabs here. For example, if you want to go into diagramming, do it like that. You don't have to use the templates, but they're a very easy starting point for nice and visually structuring out your work. There's also a lot of great tutorials online to see how to most efficiently use it if you're eager to learn more about it. Then the next tool in your toolbox is simply your text tool. This way you can simply select a piece. I'll make this big because we're very zoomed up right now. And you can simply type something like hi, hello. And this way you'll have your little text box right over here. What you can also do is you can add a sticky note. Sticky notes are within the Miro itself the easiest way to kind of map things out, in my opinion. So you can either add a sticky note in your favorite color or go into bulk mode, type bulk notes, for example, name plus project, and then you say done, and then you can add multiple at the same time. But then you have to add in how many you want to add, of course. The next tool right over here, or wait, in the sticky notes as well, once you have a sticky note, you put it here. you can make it into all of the different shapes and cards that you can also use. You can of course select just how big you want your text to be, even though the text does work automatically when the more you type, the smaller it gets. Like you see it here. You can just simply select the lettering type, how you want your text to be. You can very easily make links and connect them with the text you're typing, which is a nice function. You can have your notes be standard sizes, even though you can also simply make them bigger and smaller like that. And another fun thing is you can add tags. So for example, you can add a tag if you're brainstorming, say, this is my project, then you can add this as a tag, and then you'll see that it's tagged for this because it belongs to your project. The next option you can do is simply add a shape. Those are fun to create your own custom made templates and shapes and forms with. They give you all the same options that any other one would do, so I won't get too much into that. Another fun option is the arrowing option. I'll also make with every object or shape you make within the real-time board. It's very fun because it'll give you these nice blue dots on the corner of everyone, and those are made to very easily connect one shape to another. So say for example I have this here and I want to link it to a sticky note that I'll make right here. This way you can very simply, if you have two of them, link them, and this way you can easily see that they are linked to each other. Next, there's also a smart drawing tool, which will allow you to draw, which is very hard to do with your trackpad, but you know, still fun times. You can do it with it, just like you can do on Google Docs and basically everything from the Google G Suite. You can comment on things, so you can leave very specific points, and you can say, for example, I think you should redo these visuals at Sophie, and this way you can see that there's a comment in there. We'll be linking this to the Slack, so this way if I add myself as a comment, you will be able to see that and get a notification on that on your Slack. So it'll be even easier way to go about that. The next option in your toolbox right over here is the frame option, which is a very nice one. So for example, say I set this to be a frame over here. What this means, the frame that I made over here, is that when you go down to your viewing options, I can select a frame. So right now I have this frame selected, which will mean that when I'm browsing through the frames, I can very easily go to a specific frame and select it. What I can also do is, for example, go to the academic timeline frame, which will bring me immediately to where I have the academic timeline on the board itself. As you see here, there is also already a pre-made frame for every single member of the team, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's an easy way to navigate to where you'll be working on your projects. Lastly, on over here, we have our upload button, which means that you can, as I said, merge all of your files into, or like import them into the real-time board. So you can do that with files from your computer, through URL, through a Chrome extension, Google Drive, Dropbox, name it, you have it. Especially what's very cool is that you can basically import anything from an Adobe CC suite, any file, and it will work within the project, and that way everybody can access it very easily. The last thing that you can do over here is add in different apps like Google Image Search or the cards or the table and the charts. I'll get a little bit more into that later, but there are some cool things that you can definitely just explore more if you want to. What you can also do right up here is go down to apps and integrations, and there's a lot of more apps that you could add to the board. A lot of them are just some fun things like video chatting or countdown timers. Whatever you want, you can name it. You can probably add it into it. So that's something that's very fun to even explore a little bit further. Now, to go into how we have set up the board for you guys to work with is when you open up the board, this is basically the first thing that you see. As you can see here, it is called Ideas Brainstorm. And what you'll be able to do here is brainstorm on your ideas just like you did it in the original, how we did in the Slacking thread. As you can see, I made a little to-do list over here and some more notes over here. But basically to do now as the first thing is brainstorm like you did in the Slack, but a little bit more detailed onto how you want your academic project to be. So as you can see right over here, we have a color coding for post-its, which basically means that everybody has their name. They can name their project idea and give us a further explanation. And again, if you want to, you can link it through fun little arrows so that we can. There are some notes over here for things to keep in mind. And then here you can see that the first step, indeed, as I said, is to brainstorm your idea in a little bit more detail in the brainstorming frame. The idea is that by the end of this week, everybody will at least be done with brainstorming and having a detailed plan of what they want to do with their academic project. Once you have your idea brainstormed further, we would like you to mark with a post-it your name on the Venn diagram over here when your project is done with the brainstorming stage. All of your projects right now will just simply fall in the academic project folder, but so you don't have to worry about the main focus project and side projects just yet, but that is something that we'll be getting into more when we get closer to the session. And then as you see, step 3 is start working in your own frame on your project. That's again when you can go down here to the frames and select your own frame. We have made frames for everybody to work on their academic project, so in this way everybody can simply add in whichever different templates or other apps or documents that they want so that they can work in this space right over here on their own projects, and that it is easy for us to keep track of what you're doing and what you're working on, and to, if you have questions on, do you want to check my this and this and that we can simply go onto the board and find the file. The last thing that, or last two things that are in the board right now is over here we have an editorial frame. There's not that much in there just yet. What you can see here is that we made a little overview of the different focus areas and working groups, so you can see all of the different members of the editorial team who are in their working groups and what their focus area is. What we have over here is a to-do list for the editorial team, and there's a fun way how we'll organize this. As you can see there over here, there is a card. You can add those simply through going down here to the different apps, and you can select the card. What you'll do is the card gives you an option to write a short summary of a task that needs to be done. So this way, when you, for example, need somebody from the editorial team to check your work. So for example, you write in a summary, project Ola needs to be content checked. Then you can click it and here go to the expand option, and when you expand it you see that that's the title, and here I can write a more detailed description. So for example, would you check the content of my project with the board for accuracy? Say that's something that needs to be done. Then we can tag this as a project, so we know that it's about a project and not about any other of the things that we're doing. The tag will mainly be using as in you use the tag for your project if it's your project, and you can tag it something else if it's something else. But we'll get more into using those once we actually get working on different things than just a project. Now, for example, you need me to do it, so you can tag Sophie. Even though it's in my to-do list, you still tag me, because this way I'll get a Slack notification for it. And once we integrate it into the Slack, and then you say, oh, I want you to check this before Friday, you set a date for it. This way I know when I open this that this is exactly what I need to see. And this way we'll structure the work for us that needs to be done through you. You can, of course, also text us about it, but this is an easy way for us to get an overview of everything that you need us to do. Don't worry about things that will tell you like, oh, this needs to go through this and this and this check. But if you have a request of something that you want us to do, please just leave it as a card over here so we know what to do. Then the last thing that we have in the board right now set up is the academic timeline over here. What this basically is we set the different stages where your academic project needs to be in. So right now everybody's in the brainstorming stage. After that, you'll go into the content design and academic check, the first and the second draft. Ideally, your second draft will be done around the 1st of July, so we can make sure that all of the projects are going to be posted before we arrive at the session itself. And the only thing here is it's basically a project progress tracker. So once you think that you are done with your brainstorming and going into your content design, you can simply put your post-it in the next category so we can see how far everybody is or is not. That was basically everything that we have to explain right now on the Miro board. If there are any questions after this, please feel free to hit me up. I know that the sound of the module that was originally given wasn't too good, so I hope that this will explain everything more audible. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me or anybody else. And feel free to just explore this software, because it's a thing that I personally really enjoy working with, and I hope you guys will too. And we'll be exploring it even further throughout the session, so it will be great if everybody has at least an understanding of how it works and what we can do with it throughout the session. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this training, and I will talk to you very, very soon.